You are listening to the Eskimo Empire Podcast, a proud member of the Canadian Football Podcast Network.
Welcome to the Empire. It's the Eskimo Empire Podcast.
This is Trevor Harris.
Hey, how you doing? This is number 58, Travis Bond.
This is Christoph Malomba Chimanga.
Hey there, this is your co-host, Kenny Stafford.
Hey, this is Ryan King.
Calvin McCarty.
And you are listening to...
You're listening to the Eskimos Empire.
Listening to the Eskimo Empire Podcast.
The Eskimo Empire Podcast. Hope you guys enjoy listening.
Welcome back to the Turf District. We are all doing better than Mike Riley this week, and we are back to talk all things Esks and get you set for this week's game. I'm Andrew, and we are a part of the Canadian Football Podcast Network, so make sure that you check out all of the great shows at cfpodnetwork.ca or on Twitter at cfpodnetwork. It's a little bit different this week, as it's just myself and the one and only Superfan Mike.
Just like me and my shadow.
I know. So
I have no
these
idea.
days, actually, I think you'd be more the shadow than me, but that's,
I have been, getting some sun.
That's right. Yes. As we called it on the Periscope, it's just the two of us.
That's right.
See, it's a little bit different because Commissioner Kay is out in Victoria.
She's in Victoria and I'm here.
Yeah. Weird.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, our guest tonight had to reschedule. So I thought, hey, well, let's just have a little bit of fun.
That sounds good. It's old school.
Very old school.
Sometimes just old.
I was going to say at least the first part of that.
Right.
How was your weekend?
Well, like I said in the Periscope, anytime you start off with a win and a very demonstrative win by the defense and the offense, that's just going to make every weekend a lot better, isn't it?
It does. It really does.
Yep.
I was super happy because we were doing a staycation this
Which
weekend.
is always fun.
I've never been a huge West Edmonton Mall supporter. It's like, whatever. Like, it's there.
It's basically you go when people come from out of town.
Or you go when it's like, well, I really got to find this one thing and I know that store is going to be there.
Right.
That kind of thing, right? But we knew that we weren't really going to get a chance to get away this summer, so we thought, okay, well, let's just pretend that we're going out of town, but we're going to stay at West Ed. Let me tell you, if you go in with that mindset and you go in and you're staying in the hotel and you just stay in the mall, you really do feel like you're not in Edmonton.
Yep.
And we just did fun stuff.
Nice.
Galaxyland, and we went to a movie, and we did the mini golf, and
That's fantastic.
the mirrored hall, which is
Oh
my good lord, that was a trip.
Nice.
Olivia found the secret. You just find the mirror that says exit, and then find your way through with that.
Smart.
Yeah.
Pro tip.
She's a smart cookie.
Next time I'm in an escape room, I know who I'm calling.
That's right. Yeah, I would totally do that. And what else did we do? We did, what was the last thing? I can't remember. Food. Oh my goodness. So much food.
Excellent.
And it was outstanding.
It's vacation.
It was so good. That's the whole idea.
Exactly.
Right? And the Marine Life Caverns. That was the other thing we did. So it was a blast. It was a lot of fun. So nice to have just a bit of a weekend to shut down a bit, and going into it with the win definitely made it better.
You should have gone to Build-A-Bear. I mean, come on, that should be the pinnacle of
Well, that really should be. Yeah. Yeah. A green and gold bear. That's right. Now, we did have another successful tailgate as well.
Yeah, that was, again, a lot of fun. The weather cooperated, which was thank you, Mother Nature.
Yes. Actually, it was a really nice night for football.
Yeah.
I mean, you had to wear jeans. It wasn't a shorts night, but it was
still
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really quite liked it.
Either you wore jeans or you drank a little more, but you're in Section C, so
yeah,
I guess you had to wear jeans.
Yeah, I had to wear jeans. Yeah, well, I drank a little more before we went in.
That's true.
That's right, yeah.
Qui-Gon.
Oh my, those Qui-Gon gins were so tasty.
Yes.
It was lovely. Now, we have a little bit of a tease that we need to put in there. Next week, we have a brand new sponsor.
We do.
Oh, it's going to be so exciting.
Oh, you just want to say it now, but you can't.
Really do, but we'll find out next week. So make sure that you are tuning in over the next week as we kind of get a few more announcements. Let's get to our Esks news, shall we? Now, both Harris and Gable were given Player of the Week honors for their performance against Montreal.
Well deserved.
Absolutely. One of those may get another shot at it this week.
Oh, surely.
Because, T-Sniper is putting on a show.
Well, one of the quarterbacks was definitely going to get it.
Yeah, well, maybe
132 for a quarterback rating?
Yeah, maybe one should get one just for the fact that he survived.
That's a different kind of award.
A different award. Yeah, exactly. For that award, you get to shave off your beard.
Yeah, shell shock.
Right. Yeah, it's perfect. I love it. Now, the depth chart comes out last week. A couple of surprises again.
Yes.
Both Unamba and Orange on the 6 game.
Unamba, we knew something was up. He didn't play the second half against Montreal, so you knew he was going to at least miss some games. Orange took everybody. He had the last interception of the game, the last time the defense was on the field, to seal that. And I just don't know what happened. He had a practice, the first practice, and then that was it. He was done. Yeah. So,
and on the 6th, too. Not just even
the one game when we're hoping.
It's, oh, my goodness. So that's tough. Well, depth.
Yeah, it's amazing. We had Taekwon Glass, who did win the Jimmy Gaines Award, the 4th annual Jimmy Gaines Award, and he lived up to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
and even Money Hunter sliding over to safety at the beginning of the game was a bit rough, but got better as the game went on. And I know you raved about him in training camp, and Brian Walker being out there, and he didn't look out of place.
Josh Johnson.
Right, absolutely.
Again, showing some of that depth. Vontae Diggs.
Huge. That's the big one, actually, for me. Vontae Diggs had another
Forrest
great
Hightower.
Game. Yeah.
Had that pass defense there. It's just against everyone's favorite, Deron Carter.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a play, I think, of Vontae Diggs that brings about the changes from today.
Yes, sir.
Where they release linebacker Corey Jones, who's been with the team, I think, for
4 years.
Is it 4 years?
This is his 4th. Yeah.
Okay. And tough to always see a guy go, but when you see these other guys playing to the level that they are playing, it just happens, and they had to move some things around, right?
Yeah, Corey Jones is one of those guys that just whatever anyone asked him to do, he did it, never complained, never made it seem like he felt he was worth more than that or whatever. Right. He was an ultimate team player. I think one of the greatest stats I saw is that when we ended up having that streak where we won 6 and then lost 7 and won 6 2 years ago, when he was out, we lost every game. When he was in for the full game, we won every game.
Yeah.
That's just an incredible stat for a guy that played both middle linebacker and will linebacker. I don't think he's going to last that long. He's going to get snapped up by somebody, maybe Toronto, maybe BC.
Toronto might need a little help on their defense.
Just saying.
Yeah, it's a long shot.
It's gonna be tough to see him in other colors, but we wish him well.
Absolutely. The team does add Jamichael Dean on the offensive line. No, he's going to the practice roster.
Yeah, no, he's a guy that's played with a few teams, Calgary, and then Ottawa, where he won the Grey Cup, and then Toronto. And when he was in Ottawa...
Wait a second. We signed a guy who played in Ottawa?
Yeah, we're trying it for something new this time.
Okay, good.
While he was in Ottawa, he was left guard right beside Sir Vincent Rogers. So if Sir V can come back this year or leading up to next year with Jamichael getting some time in there, maybe there's some familiarity, maybe there's some chemistry there that they can recapture.
Well, and he is Canadian, so that's...
we didn't have a Canadian on the depth chart, right? Or on the practice roster, so...
Yeah, so it's good to have that spot filled. And I know you'll be excited about this with Milk Truck going back to the active roster.
Mark Mackey. He's such he's a great guy, first of all, but he's also so great to be able to play multiple spots on that defensive line. Being able to fill in as a Canadian, as a national, non-import, whatever you want to call it. So that if Kwaku comes off and they put an American on just to get a rotation going, he can fill in either at end or at tackle. So
yeah. Well, and I think they might do that a little bit because right now Kwaku is taking a lot of snaps.
Yes, he is.
And not that I don't think he can handle it, but I mean, if you can get a rotation and keep Kwaku a little more fresh, oh my goodness, watch out.
We saw what he could do in the last game, right? So he did have a sack that was called back.
Yeah.
He did have a couple of hurries for sure.
And one where he plowed Riley.
Yes,
now Riley got the throw off, but he paid for making that throw.
Yeah, and that's just it. As you talk about all the sacks we had, it's not just the sacks.
Yes.
Because even though it didn't, stop the play, you're still hitting the quarterback with some serious fury.
You don't say. Yeah, sometimes a little too much fury. But okay, well, obviously we got to start talking about our game.
Yes.
Let's just get into that. Esks win 39-23.
Fantastic.
Very tense first half.
First quarter and a bit.
Yeah, well, I still think I was still tense because it's like, are they gonna?
Is it Jekyll or Hyde in the second half?
Exactly.
Sure.
Like we weren't really sure, but talk about a massive momentum swing. We'll start with the good, but I mean, I think you and I have talked about this, and we've seen the stat from 9 minutes left in the second quarter,
basically, yeah,
until the end of the game. The BC Lions were able to muster -2 yards.
Net yards, yeah, that's right. Because I think they had 45 yards total.
Right.
But those sacks bring those numbers back when you're getting 7, 8, 9, 10 yards minus 10 yards.
Absolutely.
You know, that 45 gets down to -2 pretty quick.
Yeah, no kidding. Oh, my goodness.
It's hard to score with -2 offensive yards.
You don't say.
At least on offense, and their defense didn't score. So
yeah, exactly. One thing I do want to talk about, and I was lucky enough to be on the 2 and Out podcast with Travis this week, and it was a great chat as always, and always highly recommend.
It's a lot of fun being on that show.
Listening to those guys, part of the CFPN, of course. Were you surprised they didn't do a tribute to Riley before the game started?
No. The tributes are almost exclusively done for when someone's retired. When they are on the opposing team, we didn't see that with Ray when he came back with Toronto. There was no tribute. We didn't see that with Fred Stamps in Montreal. We didn't see that with Darius Bowman. They don't do tributes for active players on other teams.
Oh, okay. Because I thought there was that moment for Ray where we gave him the
I think
bit of a
normally
standing
back in the day they used to introduce the starting offense or the starting defense of the other team, and then they would run out and you could at least applaud. But the whole team came out as one, and they're not going to cheer the BC Lions.
Right.
Every opposing team always gets booed. It's almost a tradition.
Yeah.
And, it's just going to get booed. And there was the only time I saw cheering is when he took that first sack. So,
there's a lot of cheering.
And it just kept going.
Yeah, that's very true. A bit of a slow start.
But they stuck with it. It's very different than years prior where you saw this team, they would be trying something and it just wasn't working and they would go away from the run.
Right.
Gable was getting stuffed regularly in that first quarter and even into the
he
second.
only had like 10 yards of rushing.
Exactly.
Halfway through the second quarter.
Right. And he ended up finishing with 100 more.
Yeah.
At the end of the year. And it just seems that Gable is a downhill runner. Like the more he gets the ball, the better he gets.
Yep.
And kudos to that offensive staff for believing in it, believing that it was going to work no matter what, and just kept plugging, and it really paid off.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love that they continue to push the balance.
Yeah.
I think that was a huge thing for me. And because of that balance, now you look at T Sniper, who gets 25 of 33 for 76%. Now, at one point, he had, I think it was 15 straight completions.
Right.
Like, just ridiculous.
Again, a quarterback rating of 130-something, 132, 134. It's just
very impressive.
Double Riley.
Yeah. Absolutely. 294 yards, 3 TDs through the air, and 1 rushing TDs again.
Which was amazing.
And, the biggest thing with that for me, standing up, holding the ball, looking for the offensive lineman, finds David Beard, you spike it.
Yes, sir.
And oh my goodness, did that ball bounce underneath that
when you got a 300-pounder throwing you down to the ground, you'll bounce too.
But I would.
Yeah.
I'd probably squish.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, but still. I thought that was one of the highlights of the game for me.
Yeah, I think that it just shows that this team, the culture has changed so much.
Yes.
And this offensive line believes in Harris. Harris believes in them, and they will do anything for each other. I mean, that's real team unity.
Well, and it's the second game in a row where no one gets a sniff at Harris.
Nope.
Like now granted, he gets the ball out a hell of a lot faster.
Well, much quicker, right?
But still, like 2 games without a sack. and that O-line is not letting anybody get through.
And we've had 9 sacks and given up 0.
Yeah, it's not a bad balance.
It's a good ratio.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you this because I noticed when I rewatched the game, especially in that third and fourth quarter,
right?
TSN kept showing Riley sitting on the bench after he got beat up again, and it was
mugged.
It was very interesting to me, just as you say, that whole culture side, because even when Mike was here, if he was getting hit, he was always sitting with his receivers and they'd be looking at the iPad and all that. He was sitting by himself for most of the third and fourth quarter.
I think he was just steamed.
I agree.
Was mad.
Yeah, I agree. But it seemed weird to me because usually he's the guy that is getting everybody fired up to get back at it. It just seemed a bit odd.
Yeah.
It was a little backwards world for me, but I just wondered if you'd seen it or not.
I haven't seen the replay of the game yet. I have it on PVR. I just haven't had a chance to watch it yet. And I usually do later in the week.
Right.
I'm definitely looking forward to it, and really, I especially will look at the first 20 minutes.
Yes.
And just sort of sit back with some popcorn and enjoy the last 40. Because that's just good TV. Let's be honest.
I mean, in the stands, so the D-line records 7 sacks is what they actually...
That's the stat line,
the stat line. There was at least 4 that were taken away on roughing the passer.
There was 5 RTPs.
Yeah. So 75 yards in penalties just for roughing the passer.
You're going to get that, though. You have a young defense, and they are still getting used to being able to straddle that line.
Right. Yeah.
Between that kind of aggression. The only one that really bothered me of all of them was when Nick Usher, who had a monster game.
Absolutely.
A fantastic game, but he came in late and there was a helmet-to-helmet contact with Riley, wiping out that sack. But more importantly, it's just a dangerous play, and there's just no room in this game for it. And I know that if he could do it over again, I'm sure he would not have done that. But I mean, it's a very fast game. It's just something he needs to...
When I watched it now at game speed, he's coming in for the tackle as the other two are taking him down, and granted,
but he's leading with
the helmet,
and that's where
the problem was. And I agree. I'm just thinking that I could see where at top speed you're going in for the tackle, thinking you're going to get waist, and all of a sudden you're getting helmet, right?
Right, but at that point, if you have hit him with his shoulder into the head,
yes,
to me that's a very different thing. But I think we're going to see a fine coming for that.
Yeah, quite likely. I would have to agree. Ellingson,
it's what we've been waiting for.
Absolutely, yeah. 9 catches for 174 yards and 2 TDs.
And pretty TDs.
The first one, I can't believe he hung on to it because he got popped after he caught it. But that second one, just all the space in the world.
That's what we've been waiting for, is that exact play.
It was a thing of beauty.
I just loved his interview afterwards. He was talking about how none of it means anything to him. Getting the team win, this meant just as much as the week before to him.
Right.
And he got nothing there. So
and Ricky Collins was the star of the week before.
Yeah,
right?
And he's just happy that they're winning. And you know what? He says, if I can be contributing this week, that's awesome. But if I can do other stuff to help us win next week and I don't get the yards, just as awesome. And I think that's just... Man, we love this team.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tavon Smith with a great showing.
His first pro touchdown.
Absolutely. And that catch where he had to swing back and it was catching it out of the back. Like, Harris has got to go over and say, thanks for cleaning that up, man.
Right.
Off,
again, that was one of the first ones that started moving that ball because I think we were late in the first quarter when we had our first down. It was not pretty.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. No, it was very quiet for that first bit. So, the other person I want to talk about is Larry Dean.
Yeah, 7
tackles in this game. But the part that's not being mentioned nearly enough,
that will never stop on a stat line.
When BC put up, actually I think it was right before we did the Gable fumble,
right?
And Larry Dean had that defense on the sidelines, and he was just rallying the troops.
Yeah,
And it was a completely different defense that came out after that.
And again, it's just one of those things that you just got to believe in the system.
Yep.
And it seems like all three phases are starting to really believe.
Yes.
And it is showing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And on that note, I mean, Martise had some decent returns.
Yeah, he was doing north and south.
Yeah, yeah.
It's amazing how good things can happen.
Crazy, right?
Yeah.
No, it's yay, AJ. Okay.
Not as many penalties as well, right? So that's usually the killer, right? You have a great return, finally gets up to the 50, and it's called back to the 10 because of a penalty.
Yeah.
There was a few penalties, obviously, but not as much. And
in general, we had a few penalties.
We had a few on offense and defense, but I mean, not as many on special teams.
Right.
Whereas a lot of times it seemed like every play.
Yeah.
We were starting because even if we got a good return, there was a hold, illegal block, whatever.
Exactly, yeah. At least this time we're getting to the 30 and we actually get to stay there.
Yeah.
And it's not back to the 10. Last thing on the good side that I definitely want to mention is Money White. 3 for 3 on field goals, 4 for 4 on converts.
Yes, sir.
It's are we taking this guy for granted now? Just like it's just assumed he's going to get it?
I did a tweet a couple of weeks ago, just when I started comparing the numbers of the kickers we have that are currently on the Wall of Honor.
Yes.
And comparing them to Sean White. And it's not even close.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about people said, Dave Cutler was the best that ever was when he was there, and he was, 60 some odd percent, 70%.
Yeah.
Or no, it's less than that. It was 58 something to 60 something percent. Sean Fleming was in the 70s.
Yes.
Money White, since he's been here as an Eskimo, is 90 some odd percent accuracy. Like, that is incredible. That is just points.
Yeah.
Every game.
Yeah. And we can't take it for granted.
No.
Like, that's the thing.
This is a guy that'll be on our wall.
Yeah. Yeah. He should be.
Yep.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Let's, we already talked about the penalties.
Yeah, that's the bad.
14 for 165 yards. Oh my goodness. Turnovers are better. We only had the one.
We just had the Gable.
Yeah, just the one Gable. Yeah, that's it. So that's not bad. I think the other negative for me, and we talked about it a bit last week, just the attendance.
It's the fact that we had less attendance against a divisional rival, the return of Mike Riley,
yes,
and a team that did so well the week before, and we had 2,000 less
than
in our season opener versus Montreal.
Now, I do want to, I mean, I said this as well on 2 and Out. I don't like quote unquote bashing the team, but they didn't really hype the Mike Riley return either. No,
and to me, it almost seemed like if they were going to mention it at all, that's all it was talked about.
Right.
Was Riley's back. It's like, okay, it's Riley's back. But like I said, it's a divisional rival.
Yeah.
The one who actually knocked us out of the playoffs. We had that tie, but they had a better record versus us in the head-to-head but they had the 2 home games. That should be in there. So many different storylines to talk about here. Again, we were 1-0. Why not be talking about what a great game we had? If you didn't see it last week, you need to come this week to see this.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
It's not going to get any easier. I mean, the next game we have is during
Thursday night against. No, it's after.
Oh, that's right. The 25th is after.
The 25th is after, but
Thursday night at 8:00.
Thursday night at 8:00 against Toronto.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, Toronto, but it's not a huge draw.
Yeah, not a natural draw for a Western team to have a divisional opponent like that.
I mean, it is James Franklin, though. Everybody should be going to see James.
That's true. And Darrell.
Mostly James. Though.
Mostly James.
I just wanted to play the song. That's all I want. Yeah. But, I mean, it is. I mean, everybody wants to see Franklin. I don't know if Franklin wants to come in here right at this particular moment with that offensive line that's in Toronto.
Well, I mean, he didn't have a horrible game either.
No, but his offensive line is god-awful.
It is offensive.
Yeah, it is that. So, okay, well, that's going to be very interesting. One other thing that I want to talk about kind of in the bad, weird area, I guess. Chris Edwards.
Oh.
Like, just shake Harris's hand and be done with it. Or turn off.
Fist bump or whatever.
Or just turn and walk off the field.
Yeah.
Actually, there was a number of poor sports on the BC Lions. I was actually really upset by it because usually after the game, pretty much all of the guys go to the center and good game, and that's the end of it.
Yep.
There was as soon as the whistle blew, there was 8 guys that just ran right off the field. And I'm like...
Especially for someone that used to play on this team.
Exactly. I was so floored.
Yeah.
Well, to a degree, I guess.
But I mean, lots of players, right? I mean,
yeah.
You had a lot of there was 13, 15 guys on that team that were here in the last 5 years.
Yeah. What does it say when Money Hunter and Kenny Stafford are talking down Chris Edwards?
Yeah.
As he's walking off the field. Where's his teammates?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little... I was bothered by the fact that he would kind of go back at Harris that way when Harris is just trying to be a good sport. Or at least it looked that way. I mean, I don't know what he said, but I'm sure that he said, okay, hey, good game, right? He's just,
Edwards has clearly demonstrated before he's got a temper.
Yeah. You don't say.
There's some discipline issues there penalty-wise,
yes.
And thank you again for this week.
Yep, appreciate it. That's 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
That's good. We can start the Edwards count again.
Fantastic. Yeah. I thought he'd cleaned it up at the end of last year, and
so
I thought, he's going to fit into that Sam spot.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's a rough one. Got any kudos for BC?
Oof, that is a tougher one for sure. I mean, they came out swinging. They identified their targets. Yep. They went after both our corners on either side and stuck with it. But eventually, unfortunately, it turned around for them. I thought that their special teams coverage was pretty decent.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. And obviously that connection with Riley and Burnham is going to be there. There was some beautiful passes in this.
To be fair, most anyone in Burnham seems to be pretty good.
It's a good idea.
He's a special talent for sure.
True. Yeah. Yeah. So I'll give some kudos there for sure. Eskimo player of the game for you, Superfan.
Oh, I've bounced over the last couple of days. I've bounced back several times on this.
Okay.
You almost just want to give the entire defense as a whole, because that was a pretty amazing display.
Oh, for 2 3/4 quarters, it's one of the best defenses we've seen in a very long time
in the city. Yeah, for sure. I mean, the record for sacks in a game was set by the Eskimos.
Yeah,
and that was 13.
Oh,
and as we discussed with him, the last sack of that game was by Jed Roberts.
Yeah, sir. Yeah, exactly.
And he will never let anyone forget it, believe me, and shouldn't.
Yeah, no.
Because that's a pretty special stat. And on the offensive side, as what I said originally, was CJ Gable.
Yeah.
He really didn't get talked a lot about this week. For a guy that had 111 yards rushing, plus his reception as well.
Well, 2 back-to-back 100-yard games.
Absolutely. I mean, he has 268 yards in 2 games.
Yeah. Wow.
He is a quarter of the way to where he was last year.
Yeah.
And he's in 2 games.
He's in 2 games. All right. Well,
I think if we can show that balance and he can stay healthy, I think this could be a career year for him.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Love that he's here. Commissioner Kay sent in to us that she was picking Nick Usher for player of the game. He was everywhere, sometimes good, sometimes bad, but he was everywhere. I mean, I think he got a couple of those roughing the passers, but I tell you...
I'm not sure we're going to keep him off the field if Bazzi starts getting better.
I don't know how.
Someone else is going to have to come off so they can rotate those guys in.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah, because he's... Well, and especially when he got into the backfield and knocked that one pass down after Riley had been hit 5 times in a row, and then he knocks it down. He had a monster game. So I 100% agree with that. My player of the game is going to go to Larry Dean.
Oh, for sure.
Not only for turning around the defense, but 7 tackles. He was all over the field.
Yes.
And just the direction. You could see it when he was out there, especially in that second half, telling everybody where to go and in a nice way.
Yeah.
Go over there. And
he was a leader.
It was a leader. Outstanding. I was very, very impressed with him. We're going to do a little bit of a new plan, too, for player of the game now. We're going to get our 3 choices and 1 extra. And on Sundays, we'll start posting a poll for player of the game, and we'll let the fans decide who the actual player of the game
Sounds
is.
good.
At least when we all get to put our people out there and see how it goes.
Yeah, I think so. Especially if you can do a write-in.
Yeah.
Maybe there's something that everyone wants that we hadn't nominated.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
that's perfectly valid.
Yeah,
wrong, but valid.
Nice.
No, it's definitely, I mean, that's the whole thing is we're fans talking about the game. They're fans talking about the game. Let's
talk about it together.
Yes.
Love it. All right. Let's take a really quick break and we will come back with our CFPN game preview and, of course, our pick'ems for this week.
This is Trevor Harris, and you're listening to the Eskimos Empire Podcast.
Get loud for me. Get loud for me. Get loud for me. Hands in the crowd, we tearing it down.
You can join the Empire online.
Find us at eskempire.ca.
Check out all the new blogs and then follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
For more history, follow @EsksHistory on Twitter.
And even more of my pics on Esk Empire Photo.
Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to help the pod grow. Thanks again for listening. Let's get back to the show. All right, we are back. There is no history this week, unfortunately.
We're going to alternate. I think we'll do a Horde one week, which we did this week, and
Yes.
we'll do history next week, and then
Yeah, I
back
think
and
that's
forth.
a good way to do it. So,
Yeah, I think so.
So I guess right now it's time for the CFPN game preview then.
All right.
Now, this is a huge game against Winnipeg at IG Field on Thursday evening at 6:30 Edmonton time. Now, the winner of this will hold down first place in the West. Only 3 games in, of course, but it's...
Only the second game for them as well.
Oh, that's true. It's only 3 weeks in, I should say.
Right.
But a big game early on. You don't want to say it's a must-win, but it's definitely
but it's a Western
big game.
rival, and if we are hoping to host a playoff game, if not take the West, which I think is still a possibility
Sure.
that in everyone's mind. Well, maybe not Ryan down south, but
No, of course not.
I think we're going to have to beat some of these teams. You beat the teams you're supposed to, and you should beat the other teams as well as much as you can.
Yeah, absolutely.
18-0.
Lovely.
Sorry, I got
Mike
possessed by-
Valentine
Exactly.
came in here. Let's do our Uncle BD stats moment first.
Ooh.
Now, this is the first time ever that the Esks have a chance to go 3-0 in June.
Well,
I know they don't usually play 3 games in June, but the other 2 times that we've done it, or 3 times we've done it, it was I think we were 1-1, and now, or sorry. We've been 2-1.
That's correct.
Yes, and the other 2 times we played twice, but we've never actually been able to get to 3-0 because we haven't had 3 games in June.
That's true. Here's a fun stat that
Love
I
it.
actually told to Uncle BD.
Ooh, I love new stats.
This is a stat. It's by the numbers, shall we say?
Okay, I love it.
The number is 1,
Excellent.
and that is number of times Trevor Harris has beat Devon Claybrooks. This was the very first time. So
Yes.
he was, of course, the defensive coordinator in Calgary, and we all know that Ottawa didn't have the best record versus...
Lots of ties.
Yeah, there were some ties, but
Yeah.
this is the first time he's won, and I'm hoping we're starting a new streak.
Oh, I love it. I like this. This is exciting. A couple other stats for you. Co-host Kenny needs only 109 yards receiving for 2,000 in his career.
That's awesome.
Seems like it might be his turn.
Definitely his turn.
I'd be okay with that. And Sean Money White needs a total of 2 points to have 500 as an Eskimo
Not
player.
going to take long.
Crazy. First quarter, right?
Yes.
Should be able to have that happen.
Unless we're, well, the converts count, right?
Absolutely.
Then yes.
Oh, yes. Okay. Excellent. All right, let's start with the Winnipeg side of the ball as we like to talk to some of our CFPN brethren. And this one we are joined by one of our friends from the Canadian Football Countdown. It's Ryan Coop. How you doing, man?
I'm doing wonderful. Thanks for having me, guys.
The good Ryan.
Good, Ryan.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. What was your prediction on your team's record this year?
I think I had them finishing something like 13-5.
So not 8-0.
First thing
So
So
it's
definitely
the good Ryan. That's right. Yeah.
No.
That just proves it.
Yeah. Not 18-0.
No.
Excellent.
Or, well, I guess 17-1.
That's
now,
what
right?
I said to Ryan.
Yes.
Hashtag 17-1.
That's right. Other way. Let's keep going.
Yep.
Yeah, I like it the other way. We also have to throw out some congratulations to you. You've had a busy 24 hours as you became engaged, and congrats, man. That's awesome.
Yes, as of yesterday. Thanks so much, guys. And it's very exciting for both of us. And now the planning begins.
Oh, that's the fun part.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Just say yes and how much.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah. We'll expect our invitations later in the year. It's fine. We'll
Something tells me this will be a little more complicated than picking a CFL fantasy
Probably.
lineup.
just barely.
Yeah.
Just barely. Let's talk about the Bombers, being that you're based out of Winnipeg. Now, they had a big win in week 1. What was the biggest standout in that game for you?
Well, from a Bombers standpoint, I mean, it was pretty much on brand with what we've seen the last couple of years. I think it was exactly the game we expected to see from them. You know, Andrew Harris ran a lot. Matt Nichols didn't really throw a lot, but, you know, didn't force turnovers. Picked up a couple touchdowns in the red zone. The defense, still kind of that bend but don't break mentality that we hope one day will be fixed. But I know Richie Hall's working on it, hopefully. But, you know, they did give up some big plays on defense. There were a couple long passes on the same drive to Brian Burnham from Mike Riley in that game. But then they also did come up with some big defensive plays there. And if you want to talk about one guy in particular who stood out for the Bombers, it was definitely Jeff Hecht at safety.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hard not to stand out when you get
picks there.
And an incredible chicken dance.
Yeah, it's true.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Anybody who can go out and make Daron Carter look like a fool on the field,
Normally it's Daron Carter doing that.
Yeah, exactly.
So for those of us out a couple of provinces over that maybe don't follow the team as much as you, who's somebody new to the team that we should all be watching?
Well, I think this team, more than most teams in the CFL, is fairly consistent with what we saw last year. So there's not too many new guys actually starting out on the roster. But, you know, the key one to watch is kind of along the offensive line. We did lose Matthias Gosen. We did lose Suk Chung in the offseason. So right now we got a couple new guys in there. Jeff Gray, coming back from the NFL, is starting on that offensive line, and Michael Couture, and then they've got Speller and Desjardins kind of filling in at the left guard position. So, you know, especially going up against the Eskimos this week after what we saw happen to Mike Riley this past weekend, I'd say the offensive line is the positions to watch here. But if you look at the defensive side of the ball as well, you know, one of the guys, you very well know, you now have Javon Santos Knox out there in Edmonton, and while he hasn't played a game yet there for you, I'm sure he's coming into the lineup soon, and you're going to have even more success on defense. But you know, the guy that has stepped in and taken that starting role this year is Kyrie Wilson, who he did fill in a couple times last year and did not too bad of a job, and certainly it helps lining up right next to Adam flipping Big Hill, but
that doesn't hurt anybody.
Yeah, so you know, it's interesting to see how he's going to progress as the season goes along, because I think he is a bit of a younger guy. He doesn't have much starter experience. This might be his first year starting in the CFL as far as I remember. So, you know, we'll see. Same thing that happened with Santos Knox. Maybe a bit of time with Adam Big Hill can turn him into another superstar.
Yeah, I think I could almost play linebacker beside Adam Big Hill and still look okay.
No.
Yeah, well, just stand on the field. He'll run circles around and make all the tackles. That's all you got to do. It's great.
Just throw your hands up.
That's right. Throw my hands up after the tackle. Maybe I'll get credit, like Jed Roberts says. That's right. Now, we know that Andrew Harris, of course, is an Eskimos killer.
Everyone killer.
Yeah, he's very good. Is there like a weakness on the Bombers that kind of worries you against the Esks this week?
Nothing in particular. You know, maybe it is the secondary, because they did have a decent amount of turnover there in the offseason. And like I said, you know, Hecht filled in pretty well for Taylor Loeffler, but they did lose guys like Chris Randall as well, Kevin Fogg. So they do have some guys stepping up in there. But, you know, the secondary did give up a couple big plays against BC. And, you know, like I've been saying on Twitter all week, you got to give props to the Eskimos offense for just how dominant they've been through 2 games. And boy, if Trevor Harris is going to play like he is, he's going to tear that secondary apart. And who knows which Edmonton wide receiver it will be this week. But
tell me,
I wouldn't be surprised to see one of them come out and have a over 100-yard game.
Well, it definitely doesn't help my fantasy if I'm picking Eskimos receivers because apparently I picked the wrong one. But
hey, same here. I had Greg Ellingson in the lineup. I took him out this week and I put Kenny Stafford in. 2 catches for 15 yards. Nice.
Oh yeah, I know. Trust me, I took Kenny too. So put on your analyst hat for a second and tell us all what do you think are the keys to a Bomber win this week.
Well, the first key is definitely to protect the quarterback because, like I said, I mean, that was just a ridiculous fourth quarter. The number of sacks the Eskimos defense put up. Matt Nichols has gotten a little more mobile coming into this year, and we saw that in the first game, so maybe he can escape some of those. But if this offensive line can't, give him a second back there, he's going to be running off to the sidelines faster than we would ever like him to. So,
well, some of us, yeah,
some of us. So that's definitely the first key there. Obviously Andrew Harris is the biggest key. You mentioned it already, the Eskimo killer. This team kind of lives and dies with the play of Andrew Harris. It just opens up so much for them. And on defense, like I said, maybe it's actually on defense. It's shutting it down CJ Gable. We haven't really talked about him here yet, how he's had a monster start to the season. And I've always thought of Trevor Harris as a really good quarterback in the CFL, but the one knock I do have against him is he's not the most mobile quarterback. So if you can shut the run game down and get some good pressure on the quarterback, if you're the Bombers here, maybe you force Trevor Harris to get off his game a little bit because sure knows they'll need him to.
Well, I know that's what you're hoping for, but
absolutely.
That's great insight, and we love it. So usually we would. Because we're doing a game preview, we just focus on the game. But because we have you on the phone, I think we're going to talk just a little bit of fantasy really quickly because you were kind enough to set up and are organizing the CFPN Fantasy League that we're in, which has been an absolute hoot for 2 weeks so far. And Mike, you and I both pulled off wins this week.
Undefeated.
You just barely with
skin in my teeth.
68 to 66.
Something like that. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Like it was very close. And Ryan, I think, are you sitting 1-1?
Yes, yeah, I am. I had an opening week win, but crapped the bet a little bit this week against Travis from 2-0. So,
oh, he's happy about that. I guarantee it.
I looked at how bad I was doing halfway through the week, and I checked, and I was like, Travis was only 10 points ahead of me. I might pull this off. And then, Braylon Addison happened. So,
only you'd have kept that pick.
Yeah. Exactly. So tell us a little bit, who are you going up against this week? And is there a couple of names that kind of jump out for you?
Yeah, I'm going up against Sheldon from the Horseman podcast. So that should be a tough matchup there. He is 0-2 to start the season, but he's had 2 very good weeks, 91 points, and I think over 100 this past week. Just hasn't been able to catch a break through 2 weeks here. So I'm expecting a tough matchup here. I'm definitely going to need a bounce back week. I did finish with the lowest score out of anybody in the league this past week. So, even Mike with his 66 points, he still topped me this week as well. So
I don't need to be the best, just need to be better than one person sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. Different person each week, right? Yep. But, I haven't really looked into the lineup this week, but if you want to know of guys that need to be in the lineups, we talked about Andrew Harris. I think that's definitely somebody I'm going to be looking to fit in my lineup this week. At the quarterback position, who the heck knows? I traditionally do enjoy starting a bit of a cheaper quarterback when it comes to CFL fantasy because, one rushing touchdown, one yard plunge from your quarterback gets you 6 points. So you get a couple points from a bit of a cheaper quarterback there. But, it's interesting with some of these teams to look around the league. Like Edmonton in week 1, so many people had Greg Ellingson in the lineup, and then Ricky Collins has a monster game. So you put Ricky Collins in your lineup, and then Greg Ellingson has the monster week the week after. So it's a constant carousel.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and I can imagine this week is going to be great.
Yep.
Mike, this week you have
Travis Curra.
That'll be...
Beat him good for me.
I'll try.
Excellent.
I wouldn't put all your eggs in my basket, though.
No.
Or maybe don't, because I do want a chance to catch you in the standings. Props to both of you, by the way. The only two people at undefeated still at 2-0.
The Eskimo Empire. That's right.
Can we just end it now?
Yeah.
We'll split the prize.
Does it make you guys feel good that you're the only 2-0 teams, and the only 0-2 teams come from the Calgary Stampeders podcast, the Horseman Radio?
Not going to lie, it feels pretty good.
Yeah, I'm not.
It is the natural order of things.
That's exactly. This week I get Saf from Piffles, who had a monster week last week and will be looking to try and shut me up this week, I'm sure, which is really hard to do, as a lot of you know. But
I heard you like to talk a lot of trash. I heard you were sending some texts Brazilian Ties way in week 1 there.
I sent him a couple, just to say. Actually, I wanted to make sure that he knew I didn't read his fantasy blog and then take all of his options, because I didn't do that. But anyway, it was a lot of fun. Yeah. I'm really loving it. So thank you again for setting that up, and thanks for coming on to talk some Bombers with us. And plug your show. Let everybody know where they can hear you and your partner Michael as you get into your season here.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks again for having me today, and for participating in the CFL Fantasy, so it wasn't just me.
You'd win every week.
I'd win every week, I finally got Mike into fantasy this year. Nice. We're doing our season-long thing, but I can't get him into the TSN one yet, so I was like, well, let's just go across the network for that. But you can find our podcast, the Canadian Football Countdown. You can find it on basically any podcast platform you're listening to this on. Follow us on Twitter as well as at CFC on Mike FM, and you can follow me on Twitter at CooperTrooper42, and you can find Mike on Twitter as well at Mike Garrell. And we release an episode each week, talk about some of the hottest storylines from around the CFL, and of course CFL Fantasy and CFL Pick'em, because it's all just so much fun.
Awesome, thanks, man, and best of luck in week 4, and we will try and be friends again on Friday.
Hey, well, we're not really going to be friends in week 4 either, because I'm pretty sure we're up against each other in CFL Fantasy. Ooh. So,
all right, well, 2 weeks, dude. Well, I'll talk to you in 2 weeks. Okay. Well, that was a fun chat with Brian. I love chatting with him. It's funny, I like talking with both Ryans. Different reasons.
Very different reasons.
But I do enjoy talking with Ryan.
You will never mix the two up.
Yes, and this was actually very fun. And nice that we get to talk to the fantasy part and kind of get that in there now. So let's get back to our game preview now and talk about the Esk side of the ball. So this week, like we said, huge game going into Winnipeg.
Definitely some implications.
What do you think are the keys for the Eskimos to get the win?
I don't think they're any different than I said last week. I think we need to keep that balance. You need to play action work so well if they have to respect the run.
If you actually try to run the ball.
If you're running the ball and you're starting to get some success, I mean, obviously Winnipeg knows a lot about success running the ball.
Yeah, so they use play action fairly well.
Absolutely. So if we can do that too, that keeps that defense honest. And as Ryan was saying, their secondary is probably one of the weaker points in the team. I mean, they're a fairly balanced team, but if they're going to have a weakness, it may be that secondary, and it seems like we can exploit that.
Yeah, I would agree. I do also think that our front seven have got to find a way to make Andrew Harris less important in this game.
Well, I think if we can see Santos Knox back at that will linebackers position and Larry Dean.
Yeah.
That's
and those front four, no matter who they are.
Diggs,
I think there's a chance that we could. Right, I really do think that that's going to be a key, is to get up on the line, pressure Nichols against a very good offensive line, but keep Andrew Harris at least somewhat in check. He's going to get some yards. There's guaranteed. No doubt about it. But keep him somewhat in check.
Yep. I think that's a good call for sure.
I'd be watching for those dump passes and screens, because after last week, you have to know if they're going to see us all piling on like that, then the screen to Andrew Harris is going to become a huge play.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so I think that'll be key. I think the other key to put in there that I don't even know if we really have to say it, but could we take less penalties? That about says it all.
Yeah, exactly. I had to throw in the Andre Proulx sigh.
Is that when you couldn't decide what the call was?
Pretty much, yeah.
It's like there's a flag on the command center is calling down again. There is no flag on the play. All right, fine. Whatever.
It was an accident.
Turned down.
I love Proulx. I'm not
so
gonna lie.
do I love him. Yeah. Although he wasn't my favorite guy on Friday night. But it was he was getting exasperated, and it did make it a little bit funny, entertaining if you watch it.
It was funnier in the second half. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah. Who are the players that you are watching, or player, I guess, that you're watching?
I'm really hoping I'm watching Javon Santos-Knox.
Yes.
I think that, like we were just saying, we're going to have that linebacking core is going to be tested.
Yes.
Very heavily, but we're talking a couple of all-stars in Santos-Knox and Larry Dean versus that run, and it's going to be a slobber knocker.
Ooh, slobber knocker.
That's right.
Wow, look at you coming out with the fancy words.
Jim Ross, calling it. It'll be fun.
Beautiful. I am going to keep an eye on our good friend co-host Kenny this week, because who's the next receiver to get 170 yards? Because we've done it 2 weeks in a row.
That's true.
So now do they focus on Ellingson and then...
Could be Tavon Smith.
Yeah, could be, but co-host Kenny's due. Come on.
Hell yes.
Come on. Go co-host. Go Kenny. Love it. Get all those yards. I'd be perfectly fine with that. So that's the guy I'm watching this week. I think it'll be a very interesting matchup as he goes up against that secondary.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go for the Eskimo stat this week. Our over-under. Are you ready?
I am ready.
All right.
Lay it on me.
Esk sacks.
Okay.
2.5. That's what I'm going to go with.
Okay, so we had 2 in the game versus Montreal versus a much more mobile quarterback than Riley was last week.
Correct.
We had Riley, who loves to hold on to that ball pretty long, and that gave us an opportunity to hit him. I think it was the number was 76 times.
Something like that.
It's pretty close.
7 that counted, but
yes. Well, I mean,
it was
hitting
a lot
him
more than that.
Whether or not it was a sack or not.
That's a good point. Yeah.
I don't know. I think they're going to really game plan to get that ball out quickly.
I would agree. Yeah.
So it's going to be up to
change the line now that
upper secondary to just hold them long enough for that defensive line or linebackers or blitzers to get through. I think we're going to see a few more blitzes. I'm going to go over.
Okay.
I talked myself into it.
All right. Look at you going over.
Yeah.
Wow. All right then. I have a ton of faith in the defensive line.
They got a taste for blood now.
Oh, absolutely they do. I'm picking the under. I think they end up with 2.
Mondo knows Nichols.
That offensive line, though, for Winnipeg
it's true.
Is amazing. And I think you're right. I think they will game plan a bit to use those dumps to Andrew Harris. But I hope that they use those dumps to Andrew Harris right into the arms of Javon Santos-Knox. So
works for me.
I'm going to say that they stop him short, but I'm going to go with the under.
Oh, I hope they're listening.
Yeah, I hope so.
Hope they're like, rub it in your face.
I'm perfectly fine with it.
Reverse psychology, I like it.
It's 3 weeks in a row. It's worked really well. So I'm gonna go with the under on that one. Okay. All right, let's go through our pick'ems for the rest of the week. Montreal versus Hamilton in Hamilton. Who do you got?
Oh, I'm gonna have to think hard about this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, I am going to go against type, and I'm going to say Hamilton.
Are you?
Yes.
You almost had me going for a second. I'm like, you're going to like the way you set the paper down with such authority. I'm like, that is really, what are you doing?
That is bold. I know.
That was very bold. Yeah. Commissioner K is going with Holy Mazzoli.
Shocker.
I tried to
the
do
one
it
we
just
should
like
have done it last week. Yeah.
Yeah, probably. I'm also going to pick Hamilton because
Hamilton, and you'd almost think they ran out after last week.
No, that has happened before.
Yes, that is
just
true.
Kind of blow your wad on one game, and the next game you can't really show up. But we'll see. We'll see. I just think they gelled. So we'll go up against Montreal. And
sure.
I think this one will be closer, though. I do think that the Montreal defense is better in comparison to Toronto right now.
Yeah,
how much better?
Yeah, the bar set pretty low there.
Still. I mean, really. Well, anyway, Hamilton it is all the way across the board. Okay, BC versus Calgary in
the
Calgary.
Battle of the $700,000 quarterbacks.
That's... You know what? I wish they had a promo sign like that.
No
That
kidding.
would be make it a UFC sign. It would be unreal. Them staring each other down. Oh, wouldn't it be awesome?
Dollar signs in their eyes.
Nobody's around them, just the two of them.
Just the two of them.
Yeah. Hey, it's like the Periscope, but
Right.
different. Yeah. Okay. Who do you got?
You got to go first.
Oh, I got to go first this time. Well, I'm going to be picking Calgary.
Yes, sir.
Because I believe after a bye week and time to...
In Calgary.
Have, rub the salt in those wounds after the loss in Calgary in week 1. And it's in Calgary.
Mm-hmm.
And BC's offensive line is not going to get that much better in a week. I'm going to give this one to the Horses.
Yeah, begrudgingly so.
Yes.
Should have asked Coop because he did really well picking
He did.
against Calgary. So
He did. And you know what? He finally lost one. We're going to talk about it in a minute. Sorry,
don't worry, he's going to lose the next one.
I hope so.
Yeah, so that's okay. I also agree. I think that it's pretty rare to see Calgary lose 2, especially at home. I think for all the reasons.
I'd be upset if they lost again.
Oh, can they tie?
Oh, it'd be so good.
Maybe I should just call for a tie.
Are you going to call for a tie?
I'll call for a tie.
Oh, my.
Oh, the sister kisser.
Are you going to pull the Daltz move and get the tie? Wow.
Just because I want to see what it does to Ryan Ballantyne's head.
Not only that, but just the two fan bases in general. It would just be like great.
Ryan v. Brian.
That's right. Yeah, that'll be really fun. Okay, you're calling the tie?
Calling the tie.
Attaboy. Commissioner K going the unconventional route and saying BC pulls off the win.
Their first win of the season.
Mike Riley rallies the troops. Finds a way in Calgary to beat Bo.
To leaves Calgary in last place in the West.
Oh.
Just freeze frame this moment.
Such
for
a
me.
sweet song. I might take that picture and put it in the turf district. Just for fun. Oh my. All right. And the last one, this will be interesting. Toronto versus Saskatchewan in Saskatchewan.
Yes, sir.
Their home opener. Let's see. Oh, I got to start with Commissioner K.
Yeah.
So she went with Saskatchewan at home. Superfan.
This is a tough one because, to me, that Toronto game was almost a third preseason game for the Argos.
Right.
I think they're both kind of tire fires right now. I think that Toronto is a little further behind, though. If this was maybe game 3 for them, maybe I might go with Toronto. I'm just going to have to go with the Wheaties.
You're going to go with Saskatchewan?
The giant rectangle of hate, yes.
The Saskatchewan Rough Riders put up 41 points last week.
They sure did.
On an Ottawa defense that I thought would be pretty good. So...
And it's their defense that everyone's been talking about against Toronto's offensive line.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the part. I think Toronto performs better this week.
Agreed.
But I think Saskatchewan...
Again, the bar was set pretty low.
Yeah. I think
Toronto's not going to allow 64 points this week.
No, only 45.
There you go.
But still.
Progress.
That's right. Yeah, working our way down. Baby steps. Baby steps. Turtle steps.
Baby turtle steps.
That's right. Turtle steps. All right, fine, Saskatchewan. Boo hiss. Anyway, if Toronto finds a way to win, I'm okay to be wrong. In our pod league, Cooper Trooper that we just talked about is still first.
Oh, go figure.
But he did get that first loss.
And about to get a second.
Yep, because he's going to pick Winnipeg,
yes.
And that'll be fine. That'll be good by us. Although, you know what? I can't really be too upset with him because he did pick Edmonton to win the Grey Cup.
That is true.
Yeah, so we can't really be too upset with him. So
I'm not upset with him.
Okay.
I'm willing to use his bias against him in this particular way.
In this way. Okay, that's good. Yeah, because we have to move up because you're in 14th and I'm in 34th. So
we got some moving.
We have some moving to do. Moving and shaking, as they say.
Who's they?
Nobody
says that.
You and me.
Okay.
We are they. That's right. Now we already talked about the fantasy league that we are in, but we'll talk about our fantasy group for the Eskimo Empire podcast.
Yes, it's much more fun.
Absolutely. We have a new leader, and his or her name is Osmosis.
Oh, yes.
So obviously they just lie down against the stat sheets, and that's how they pick their fantasy line.
I should try it.
Just stuff it under your
Couldn't
pillow.
hurt.
See how it goes.
Wow.
Can't get any worse. Yeah. I'm sitting in 29th right now, and you're in 37th in that group.
Oh,
so
I had a bad week. I had a really good first week. I had a really bad second week.
I stayed fairly consistent. I think first week I was 108, and the second week I was 98 or somewhere around there, 92. So it wasn't
not so
horrible,
consistent.
But okay, well, that means this will be your good week.
That's right. This is it.
That's the best part. Well, this is fun, Superfan.
Yeah.
A little bit shorter show, but nice to have that as we kind of get set for the week 3, and we just get to catch up, which is fun.
That's true.
Where does everybody find you again on the Twitters?
Where does everybody find me again? You can find me at 56 Sparkies.
At Giddy Esks Fan.
Oh, so giddy.
You can find me at Bring the D.
Oh my.
Wait. No, you can no, at Freepalicious.
You would be getting a whole lot of different instant messages.
It's very different. Yeah, exactly. It's like Feel the Earthquake.
Yes.
Kind of like that.
It's just not getting any better.
Totally different. Yeah. At Freepalicious, find the show at Esk Empire Pod. Make sure you are following Pay It Forward with Football on Facebook.
Yes, please.
Get all those nominations in to Quentin and Samantha to send someone to an Esks game.
Correct.
And they have some exciting news coming before too long as well. They kind of let me in on that, so we will try and partner with them for that. And I do want to say it was great to meet that first couple that was coming to the game and get them some Quaku shirts.
Yeah.
And obviously they had a great time, and that was outstanding. So, of course, find all of our social channels. You can find all of the links on eskempire.ca, and of course all of our show links are there as well. And you can find us on all of those spots that you know about, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher Radio.
Yep.
You name it. If it's a podcast app, we're there. If you could leave us some reviews, that would be outstanding.
We'd love to hear them.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe we'll start reading some out on here if we get some good reviews. So drop us a review and help us climb those charts. We will be back next week. We're going to be talking about getting to 3-0 in June, of course. And yes. Kayla should be back to join us, which will be outstanding. So are we ready for this defense to continue against Andrew Harris?
Absolutely.
For Commissioner Kayla and Superfan Mike, I'm Andrew. Remember, you can't catch footballs with your face, and we will absolutely talk to you next week.
Thanks for listening. Find more great shows like this at CF Pod Network on Twitter.